Hey, Olive, Arlo, and Frank. Kampai. Sitting here having some green tea with ginger in it. Tea's good. I still occasionally drink coffee, but for the most part I drink tea, and I drink different kinds of tea. I'll drink 2 or 3 pots of tea a day. I make some tea from the backyard. I have different plants out there that you can take the leaves and put them in there, and I hardly ever use honey. I never use sugar anymore in it. I hardly use honey because, like, this tea tastes fine without it. But I'm not really here to talk to you about tea today. I'm here to talk to you about Horton and the fact that Horton hears a who. Now, I don't know what a who is because I didn't pre-read this book. I try never to pre-read the books. And the reason is because if you came up to me and said, Grandpa, would you read this book to me? And you gave me a book, I would just read it to you. I wouldn't study the book first and find out all about the background and all that kind of stuff. But this is about an elephant named Horton. And I think we had another elephant. Yeah, the same one, Horton. He was the guy that hatched the egg, and then the bird that came out of the egg looked like an elephant with wings. Yeah, Horton's pretty cool. So, Horton Hears a Who by Dr. Seuss. This came out in 1954 when I was 1 year old. For my great friend Mitsugi Nakamura of Kyoto, Japan. So that's who he dedicated the book to. On the 15th of May, in the jungle of Newell, in the heat of the day and the cool of the pool, he was splashing, enjoying the jungle's great joys, when Horton the elephant heard a small noise. And here he is, he's chilling in this little body of water, this pool. It's being cool in the pool. So Horton stopped splashing. He looked toward the sound. That's funny, thought Horton. There's no one around. Then he heard it again, just a very faint yelp, as if some tiny person were calling for help. I'll help you, said Horton, but who are you? Where? He looked and he looked. He could see nothing there but a small speck of dust blowing past through the air. So, and then here's Horton, and the speck of dust is up here blown through the air. And there he is, perplexed. He's a perplexed elephant. I say, murmured Horton, I've never heard tell of a small speck of dust that is able to yell. So you know what I think? Why, I think that there must be someone on top of that small speck of dust. Some sort of a creature of very small size, too small to be seen by an elephant's eyes. And I'm going to point it out right here. He's looking real close with his eyes, and there's that little round thing, and that's what he's looking at. Some poor little person who's shaking with fear that he'll blow in the pool. He has no way to steer. I'll just have to save him, because after all, a person's a person, no matter how small. And so now we see that there's this thing, this creature, he calls it a person, up there on the top of this round thing, shaking with fear. And here he is, like close up. I should have showed you close up of that other one, with the elephant looking at the little speck. So gently and using the greatest of care, the elephant stretched his great trunk through the air, and he lifted the dust speck and carried it over and placed it down safe on a very soft clover. So there he is, placing it on, that looks like a dandelion. It doesn't look like a clover, but whatever. And you can see the little speck that he's dropping on there. See the little dot thing? Right up there. Yeah. Humph, humped the voice. 'Twas a sour kangaroo, and the young kangaroo in her houch said humph, too. Why, that speck is as small as the head of a pin. A person on that? Why, there never has been. So the mom and the baby are both making fun of poor Horton. Maybe kangaroos are like that, just mean. Look at them. Mean kangaroos. Believe me, said Horton, I tell you sincerely, my ears are quite keen, and I heard him quite clearly. I know there's a person down there, and what's more, quite likely there's 2, even 3, even 4. Quite likely a family for all that we know. A family with children just starting to grow. So please, Horton said, as a favor to me, try not to disturb them. Just please let them be. And that's the hardest thing in the world. We live in a country where instead of just letting everybody be, we're up in everybody's business all the time. See that? There's a whole family of them, and they're just on this speck. Little tiny speck. Through the high jungle treetops, the news quickly spread. He talks to a dust speck. He's out of his head. Just look at him walk with that speck on that flower, and Horton walked, worrying, almost an hour. Should I put this speck down? Horton thought with alarm. If I do, these small persons may come to great harm. I can't put it down, and I won't, after all. A person's a person, no matter how small. And here he is, and he's walking through the forest, and then you see that all these animals checking him out, and they think he's nuts. Maybe he is. Maybe Horton's a little touched. We'll find out as we go along. Look, there's a monkey. There's a monkey hanging by his tail. See him? Yeah. Although I think I'm going to get you a monkey for Christmas, next Christmas. Would you like that? We won't tell your parents. We could just sneak them in the house. How about that? Here's to getting Arlo a monkey next Christmas. Then Horton stopped walking. The speck voice was talking. The voice was so faint he could just barely hear it. "Speak up, please," said Horton. He put his ear near it. Now I'm going to show you. Here he goes. And the speck's on top of the flower there. And he's listening to it. And it says this: "My friend," came the voice, "you're a very fine friend. You've helped all us folks on this dust beak no end. You've saved all our houses, our ceilings and floors. You saved our churches and grocery stores." So I'm not doing it justice, but he might be speaking as loud as he can, but he's a little tiny speck with a little tiny voice. But I only have but so much talent, kids. "You mean," Horton gasped, "you have buildings there too?" "Oh yes," piped the voice, "we most certainly do." "I know," called the voice, "I'm too small to be seen, but I'm mayor of a town that is friendly and clean. Our buildings to you would seem terribly small, but to us who aren't big, they are wonderfully tall. My town is called Whoville, for I am a Who, and we Whos are all thankful and grateful to you." And Horton called back to the mayor of the town, "You're safe now, don't worry. I won't let you down." So we thought Horton might be a bit delusional and like hearing things, hearing voices, and maybe schizophrenic, maybe all kinds of stuff. But there's actually a whole city on this speck. But just as he spoke to the mayor of the speck, 3 big jungle monkeys climbed up Horton's neck. The Wickersham brothers came shouting, "What rot! This elephant's talking to Whos who are not. There aren't any Whos, and they don't have a mayor, and we're going to stop all this nonsense. So there." And here they come, the elephants. Although this must be your elephant, or not elephant, the monkeys. This is your monkey in the very front there, right there. That's your monkey. Followed by, well, maybe I'll get a monkey for all 3 of you. So followed by Frankie's monkey, and then there's Olive's monkey. Yeah, your parents will love it if I buy you monkeys. And this monkey's trying to get the speck. See him reaching up there? Trying to get that speck. "I'ma get me that speck." That's what he's saying. They snatched Horton's clover. They carried it off to a black-bottomed eagle named Vladikov. So he's a Russian. He's a Russian, probably a Russian spy, a Russian agent. A mighty strong eagle of very swift wing, and they said, "Will you kindly get rid of this thing?" And before the poor elephant even could speak, that eagle flew off with the flower in his beak. And so here he comes. Here comes Horton with the monkeys. There's red trees and blue trees. And Arlo, your monkey, he's up there giving it to that eagle, to that bird. Going, "Hey man, can you get rid of this?" The speck on top of the flower. All that late afternoon and far into the night, that black-bottomed bird flapped his wings in fast flight, while Horton chased after with groans over stones that tattered his toenails and battered his bones and begged, "Please don't harm all my little folks. who have as much right to live as us bigger folks do. But far, far below him that eagle kept flapping. And over his shoulder called back, "Quit your yapping. I'll fly the night through, I'm a bird, I don't mind it, and I'll hide this tomorrow, where you'll never find it." And there's birds up here. It's fine. Horton's right there trying to get up there and chase him. That's the bird. There's Horton. And at 6:56 the next morning, he did it. It sure was a terrible place that he hid it. He let that small clover drop somewhere inside of a great patch of clovers, 100 miles wide. "Find that," sneered the bird, "but I think you will fail." And he left with a flip of his black-bottomed tail. Oh, this is horrible. This pink down here, that's all clovers. And here's the bird over here, and he dropped it right in the middle of the clovers. And here comes Horton down the mountain, going like, oh, that's bad. That's how Horton talks. And look how sad Horton looks. He's real sad. And the bird's just like snarky. He's like, "I'll find it," cried Horton. "I'll find it or bust. I shall find my friends on my small speck of dust." And clover by clover by clover with care, he picked up and searched them and called, "Are you there?" But clover by clover by clover, he found that the one that he sought for was just not around. And by noon, poor old Horton, more dead than alive, had picked, searched, and piled up 9,005. Oh, he's in this, like, all this pink is clovers. Clover's green, but hey, poetic license it's called. Then on through the afternoon, hour after hour, till he found them at last on the 3 millionth flower. "My friends," cried the elephant, "tell me, do tell, are you safe? Are you sound? Are you whole? Are you well?" And here, you see him picking through the clovers, and there. You see he's got the clover with the speck above it. From down on the speck came the voice of the mayor. "We've really had trouble, much more than our share. When that black-bottomed birdie let go and we dropped, we landed so hard that our clocks have all stopped." "Oh no, Arlo, their clocks have stopped." "What are you going to do, Arlo? You're the clock guy." "Our teapots are broken, our rocking chairs smashed, and our bicycle tires all blew up when we crashed. So Horton, please," pleaded the voice of the mayor, "will you stick by us who's while we're making repairs?" "Of course," Horton answered, "of course I will stick. I will stick by you small folks through thin and through thick." And here's the village. And we get the clock that stopped. And they're making their repairs to things. I mean, he's an elephant. What else does he have to do? "Humph," humphed a voice. "For almost 2 days you've run wild and insisted on chatting with persons who've never existed. such carryings on in our peaceable jungle. We've had quite enough of your bellowing bungle, and I'm here to state, snapped the big kangaroo, that your silly, nonsensical game is all through. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me too." So it's like a Me Too movement back in the 1950s, 69 years ago. So they're all coming down there and they're mocking him. They're mocking this boy Horton. With the help of the Wickersham brothers, and that's the monkeys, and dozens of Wickersham uncles and Wickersham cousins and Wickersham in-laws whose help I've engaged, you're going to be roped and you're going to be caged. And as for your dust speck, that we should boil in a hot steaming bottle of bezelnut oil. And I think didn't we have the bezels, remember those birds that flew around that kingdom and they ate the trees? Boil it, gasped Horton. Oh, that you can't do. It's all full of persons, and they'll prove it to you. So here's the monkeys and the kangaroos all coming against Horton. Horton the Who. Horton and the Who's. And you see that he's got the thing, he's protecting it over here. The clover with the speck. Mr. Mayor, Horton called. Mr. Mayor, you've got to prove now that you really are there. So call a big meeting, get everyone out, make every who holler, make every who shout, make every who scream. If you don't, every who is going to end up in a bezelnut stew. And here he is, like yelling at this speck of dust with all these tiny people on it. I can only imagine it sounds like, Mr. Mayor! And down on the dust speck, the scared little mayor quick called a big meeting of the Who in the Whoville town square, and his people cried loudly. They cried out in fear, "We are here, we are here, we are here, we are here." Oh no, I'm sorry. We are here, we are here, we are here, we are here. Because they're little people. And here they are. They're all on the speck of dust. That's like their earth, their globe. The elephant smiled. That was clear as a bell. You kangaroos surely heard that very well. All I heard, snapped the big kangaroo, was the breeze and the faint sound of wind through the far distant trees. I heard no small voices, and you didn't either. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, "Me neither." And so the monkeys are still down there. They're cooking something, and they got the rope. They want to rope him up. The kangaroo, which is almost as big as the elephant, is in Horton's face. "Grab him," they shouted, and caged the big dope. Lasso his stomach with 10 miles of rope. Tie the knots tight so he'll never shake loose. Then dunk that dumb speck in the bezelnut juice. So that must have been what they had in that kettle they were cooking up. That's the bezelnut soup. And then here's the we're trying to capture him, get him in that cage. Horton fought back with great vigor and vim, but the Wickersham gang was too many for him. They beat him, they mauled him, they started to haul him into his cage, but he managed to call to the mare, "Don't give up, I believe in you all. A person's a person, no matter how small, and you very small persons will not have to die if you make yourselves heard. So come on now and try." The mare grabbed the tom-tom. That's a drum. Boom, 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 boom. He started to smack it, and all over Whoville, they whooped up a racket. They rattled tin kettles. They beat on brass pans, on garbage pail tops, and on cranberry cans. They blew on bazookas and blasted great toots on clarinets, oompas, and boompas, and flutes. Here they are with the band music instruments. Great gusts of loud racket ran high through the air. They rattled and shook the whole sky, and the mare called up through the howling, mad hullabaloo, "Hey, Horton, how's this? Is our sound coming through?" And Horton called back, "I can hear you just fine, but the kangaroo's ears aren't as strong quite as mine. They don't hear a thing. Are you sure all your boys are doing their best? Are they all making noise? Are you sure every hoot out in Whoville is working? Quick, look through your town. Is there anyone shirking?" So, there it is. She sends, excuse me, sends Horton on a mission. Well, Horton sends the mare on a mission. Go see if there's anybody that's not doing what they're supposed to do. Through the town rushed the mare from the east to the west, but everyone seemed to be doing his best. Everyone seemed to be yapping or yipping. Everyone seemed to be beeping or bipping. But it wasn't enough, all this ruckus and roar. He had to find someone to help him make more. He raced through each building. He searched floor to floor. And so here he goes. This must be the mayor up here. And he's running around this whole town. He's trying to get them to make more noise. And just as he felt he was getting nowhere and almost about to give up in despair, he suddenly burst through a door, and that mare discovered one shirker quite hidden away in Fairfax Apartments, apartment 12J. A very small shirker named Jojo was just standing and bouncing a yo-yo. Not making a sound, not a yip, not a chirp, and the mare rushed inside, and he grabbed that young twerp. So here, and this is the guy right here, so I'll show you. That's the little thing is the guy, and there he is, he's doing a yo-yo. There's his house, and the king's in there. Apartment 12J. And he climbed with the lad up the Eiffelberg Tower. And there's the Eiffel Tower in Paris. And this is a play on that. So on this little speck that they live on, they have a thing called the Eiffelberg Tower. "This," cried the mayor, "is your town's darkest hour. The time for all who have blood that is red to come to the aid of our country, he said. We've got to make noises in greater amounts. So open your mouth, lad, for every voice counts. Thus he spoke as he climbed. When they got to the top, the lad cleared his throat, and he shouted out, "Yap." I don't know why he shouted yap. Probably because it rhymes with top. And that yap, that one small extra yap, put it over. Finally, at last, from that speck on the that clover, their voices were heard. They rang out clear and clean, and the elephant smiled. Do you see what I mean? They've proved they are persons, no matter how small, and their whole world was saved by the smallest of all. How true, yes, how true, said the big kangaroo. And from now on, you know what I'm planning to do? From now on, I'm going to protect them with you. And the young kangaroo in her pouch said, so we'll find out when we turn the page what that other kangaroo said. I hope it's not F you. The young kangaroo in her pouch said, F you. Me too. From sun in the summer, from rain when it's fallish, I'm going to protect them, no matter how smallish. And here is the baby kangaroo and the mom. And I think that's the same picture we saw in the very beginning of the book, but maybe not. That is the end. Peace out.